I'm Eddie Muller, welcoming you to Noir Alley, on a weekend that TCM honors the men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces who've given their lives in service to the nation. Trying to find a noir film appropriate to this holiday, I settled on the 1945 RKO release Cornered, starring Dick Powell. He portrays a demobilized World War II veteran determined to track down the man who killed his bride, a French resistance fighter. The hunt takes him to Switzerland and eventually to Argentina. Well, it's at least the best suggestion of those countries RKO could simulate. What the filmmakers couldn't convey through location shooting, they managed with savvy casting, art direction, and wardrobe design. The movie was made by the same creative team that produced Murder, My Sweet the previous year. And that film was not just a surprise box office hit, it was a breakthrough for everyone involved, especially Dick Powell, who coveted the role of Private Eye Philip Marlowe as a way of altering his image. The cherubic crooner of the 1930s made a surprisingly effective tough guy, wisecracking nonstop as he got regularly beaten up. Powell so relished this professional rebirth, he wanted to follow it with something even darker and more potent. Producer Adrian Scott and director Edward Dmytryk were eager to accommodate. Little did they know that development of the project would become a saga of deceit, betrayal, and political intrigue as dramatic as the fictional thriller they chose to make. Cornered came to RKO as a treatment by Ben Hecht, for which the new head of the story department at RKO, William Dozier, paid $50,000. Hecht was one of the most respected, highly paid, and busiest writers in the business, and it was not uncommon for him to give a story idea to a colleague, have them write the treatment, then put his name on it to boost the price tag. If it sold, Hecht would take a commission. Dmytryk doubted Ben Hecht actually wrote this treatment, which he thought was a mess. But Scott and Dmytryk loved the premise, since it satisfied their desire to make genre pictures that were timely and topical. And this story was topical. At the end of the war, as the Third Reich crumbled under the Allied onslaught, Nazi officers fled Europe via what were known as rat lines, escape routes created to spare men likely to be prosecuted as war criminals. Switzerland and Argentina, two countries that declared neutrality during the war, became havens for fugitive Nazis. Adolf Eichmann, who masterminded the extermination of Jews as the final solution, was the most notorious Nazi to find sanctuary, at least temporarily, in Argentina. But he was only one of an estimated 9,000 Nazis allowed into the country by its fascist dictator, Juan Perón. And it wasn't only Nazis. Italian fascists and Vichy collaborators also flowed into Argentina, all of which provides the politically charged background for Cornered. Edward Dmytryk wanted John Paxton, who'd scripted Murder, My Sweet, to rewrite Hecht's treatment. But William Dozier broke up the Murder, My Sweet team, assigning a different writer. Adrian Scott hated that decision for two reasons. First, the new writer was a well-known right-winger, and Scott and Dmytryk were members of the Communist Party of the United States. Secondly, nobody, Dozier included, liked the first draft that was turned in. So onto the project came writer John Wexley. His politics might have been preferable to Scott, but not his script, which put political posturing above exciting scenes. In the end, Scott held out for a rewrite by Paxton. His final script is thorny and convoluted, but includes plenty of confrontations and tableaus Dmytryk could have fun with, especially in the third act. Production was smooth and efficient. Dmytryk was working again with director of photography Harry Wilde, who'd shot Murder, My Sweet, and the results were just as atmospheric. Things on the set were so relaxed and convivial, Dmytryk even gave a small role to his script supervisor, Ellen Corby. She had played bit parts, but after 1936, she chose to work behind the camera instead. Her small part here as a Swiss maid ended up reviving an acting career that lasted the rest of the century, including her iconic role as Grandma Walton on the popular TV series. The film ended up being a box office success, bigger one than Murder, My Sweet. But the politics involved in crafting the script would come back to haunt Adrian Scott and Edward Dmytryk. Also starring Viennese-born Walter Slezak and French actress Micheline Cherel, here is Dick Powell out for revenge in Cornered.